was 4 years ago, almost to the day. I was going on my 8th year in the NFL. I just signed a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract in the league. And in a lot of ways, I thought I was set. Life was good, had my starting spot, wife, kids, family. We had a newborn at that time, just being born, our youngest at that time. His name was Kelechi. And I'm in the hospital, sleeping. 12 hours after Kelechi is born. And I wake up. Our room is full of doctors, nurses, and my wife screaming in excruciating pain. She had coded. See, in the medical world, coding, as some of y'all know, right, you might lose 800 or 900 mLs of blood. She'd lost a lot more than that. She was having blood clots, and the doctors were pushing on her stomach, trying to get all that blood out, and it wasn't coming out. And I was sitting there, and I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was afraid. I was confused. I didn't plan on a life of, football's going great and family's going great, but all of a sudden my wife looks like she's being taken away from me. She didn't know what to do. My wife and my family, those who know me, were from Nigeria, right? So my wife, she's like, hey, whatever y'all do, I don't want to go to sleep. I don't know about this whole anesthesia. I don't want to go to sleep. Whatever you do, keep me awake so I could be aware of everything's going on. The anesthesiologist comes in and says, ma'am, because nothing was working, ma'am, if we don't put you to sleep, you may not make it. I said, baby, we got to go to sleep. So they put her to sleep. They roll her to another surgery. Mind you, this was a C-section, right? So a major surgery. And it was me and our 12-hour-old baby. I don't know what you all do when life hits you, when life comes at you fast, and what you lean on, where you rely on. For me, all I could do was pray. That's literally all I could hold on to. I'm a person of faith, right? Anybody who knows me, some of the guys I play, God help. I didn't sign up to be a single dad. I didn't sign up for a mini marriage. I didn't sign up for any of this, God. I'd been leading Bible studies with the guys on my team, right? I've been reading stuff. I've been God, I know you did it before, you can do it again. Right? You're the same God who healed people from that. You did it before, do it again. Praying on my knees, crying out. My little boy is asleep. Sound asleep. I call him now my best friend, right? Because he was there with me through the hard times. Sound asleep. God, do it again. I don't know if I felt or heard, I don't know what the heck it was, but there was this almost whisper, this feeling of she's fine. And I remember crying out, good. I don't know who I was talking to, good. And I went to sleep on the couch in the hospital bed, you know what I mean? It doesn't fit us. It doesn't fit us. I had him bringing a cot this time. I need something. It doesn't fit us. And I went to sleep, right? And I wake up to go use the restroom, and all of a sudden they're wheeling my wife back in. She was okay. I'm going to talk to you all about 3 things today, how to live a life of impact, right? That's kind of the message, the theme. Talk to you about 3 things. Number 1, being vulnerable. Number 2, relationships over resumes. And number 3, getting in the hall. Be vulnerable. Relationships over resumes. And getting in the hall. It's funny, I didn't know Mark was going to share some of that, but I'm glad, Mark, that you did. Because fast forward, 4 years later, right on Wednesday, so August 3rd, we had baby number 4. we had baby number 4, and we had known, like, this is like a surprise baby, like we didn't really plan or expect, right? Well, how did you surprise? But, surprise baby. But the doctor knew everything that had happened years before. So we took all the precautions, right? Gave my wife extra medicine, brought in nurses, everything, like did everything possible to make sure everything was going to be okay. I see some of you nodding your heads. If you remember the last time, like 12 hours after, right, I'm sleeping, all of a sudden, well, this time I'm like, hey, I'm ready. Like I'm praying, like God, you did it before, all this stuff, so it's gonna be good, right? So the doctor comes in, they do the, surgery. We have big babies, right? Like our last one, the 4 years ago, he was 10 pounds, 6 ounces. He came early. I wonder why, he came early, right? Our first one was 9 pounds, 3 ounces. The second one was 9, 7, 10, 6. They're like, hey, this time, like, your baby's coming early, right? They scheduled a C-section this time 2 weeks early. This baby was still 9 pounds, 1 ounce, right? Gonna get some beats out there, some beats. My coach texted me, he's like, you got some D linemen on your hands. I said, as long as they're not O-line. I don't like O-linemen, no offense. And so everything went well. Surgery's well, doc gave all the medicine, I'm holding the baby, everything's good. They take my wife back to the recovery room. It's Wednesday. They take my wife back to the recovery room, and I'm just kind of like there, and I'm still kind of like, you know how it is, like, all right, are we good, are we not, are we good, are we not? Doctor said it's good, we're great. Put her in there, the nurse kind of lifts up the blanket and says, this isn't good. I don't know what she said, but all of a sudden, now minutes after our 4th is born, the room is full again. Nurses, doctors, anesthesiologists, pediatricians, they took the baby away this time early. My wife was coding again. This time she lost 2,100 milliliters of blood. Dang. Be vulnerable, right? She's shaking. I'm praying. A mask on and everything. And I'd been through this drill before. Like the last time I was freaking out, this time I'm just crying out, God, you did it before, do it again. You did it before, do it again. You did it before, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. I didn't want to see what was in front of me. In front of me, all I saw were all these nurses trying to keep me calm and the pediatricians taking out our baby and the other doctors, right? The doc, like he was looking like me. He took off his stuff. He took off his scrubs, his cap and gown. But when he heard what had happened, he came back looking just like this. He said, give me some gloves. Did it before, God, do it again. They didn't have to take her again to another surgery, right? They got everything under control. But that was a difficult situation, a hard moment. 4 years ago when it had happened, as I mentioned, like I'm growing, and I think we all are growing, right? We all are kind of cut from the same cloth. Even as I do stuff on ESPN now, some of the people who I work with, they're all Campbell Trophy, either winners or finalists, just like you and me. Guys I do stuff with on TV. Guys like Greg McElroy, who's calling games, doing shows together, right? Like we are cut from the same cloth. And so 4 years ago when all this was going on, right? I remember like everything had happened, wife was good, and she says, hey, it was training camp, right? Mid-August. I just signed my deal. I'm trying to go be the guy. She's like, go to practice. I'm like, all right, cool. So I show up to practice, a lot of ways disheveled, trying to be tough, trying to be macho, trying to like tough it out and figure it out and do the things that we always do. And I had walked by a man by the name of George McCaskey, the chairman of the Chicago Bears. I played for the Bears at the time. He and I developed a relationship. I'd walked by his office. I texted him the night before, everything's good, right? When everything was good, everything is good, right? Boom, boom. Oh man, boom. We sent flowers, all this stuff. Now it wasn't good. I walked by his office. He said, hey, Sam, how's your wife? How's Ngazi? I just walked in the door, shut it, slid down and started weeping in front of like the owner of the team. And what he did, this man in a position of power, this man who has the power to hire, to fire, not only the players, but the staff, the coaches. This is a lesson for some of us leaders in here. I'll tell you what leadership looks like. He sat with me. He pulled up a chair, didn't say a word, and sat with me. He grabbed a bottle of water in case I needed it and placed it right there. Sat with me as I wept for my wife. Leadership looks like vulnerability. Fast forward that year, right? This is 4 years ago, right? It's a big contract, multi-year, multi-deal, right? I remember still trying to be this tough guy, still trying to be the star, the starter. We had traded for this guy by the name of Khalil Mack. Some of y'all may have heard the name. You're laughing, right? Because I played defensive end, outside linebacker. Khalil Mack plays defensive end, outside linebacker, generational talent. So what that means is like if Khalil's on the team, I'm not playing so much, right? Had a first round pick as well. I'm not playing so much. And but it's like, it's good, you know how it is. Like, I'm gonna grind, I'm gonna get it in practice. Like, if you know, practice is gonna be my game, I'm gonna be better, I'm gonna do the little things, whatever. Well, now I wasn't practicing either, right? Because Khalil needed the reps, I'm the smart guy. Campbell Trophy winner. Sam, you don't need the reps. Like, you're smart, you're good, right? It's sometimes unfair to be as intelligent as we are. And all of a sudden, now I'm not even practicing. Like, this thing I'd put all my joy in, right? If I can't play, I'm a practice. That's how I like got the starting spot as a rookie. Y'all don't want to play me in the games? I'm gonna make practice my games. I'm gonna prove to each and every one of you how you made the wrong decision. All these guys you got up there, I'm better than them. And you're starting offensive line that's getting whooped in the games, let me whoop them in practice too. See what you want to do then. And it worked, right? It worked. But now all of a sudden it wasn't working. I remember that happened, right? I get benched. 4 weeks later, I tear my pec, out for the season. And what had happened was, right, this is kind of that point about relationships and vulnerability. What had happened was after that injury, right, my coach had looked at me and said, Sam, I know this kind of sucks for you, but it's good for the team, right? You can come and be an extra coach on the field. I want you to go and watch the film, break it down for the guys. I want you to get it ready for them the week before and present it to them. That's what I want you to do. But mind you, my wife is still at home. My baby's still like kind of doing his thing, trying to figure out how to be a child, right? All this stuff is going on. I'd gotten benched, right? We had a new coaching staff. Like all these things were happening, right? I was starting to see a counselor as well, which was like perfect for me. Wasn't just from the injury, it was like a life was happening. Needed to talk to somebody. Like all this stuff is going on, and I'm confused and I'm frustrated and I'm upset. And this coach says, hey, I got this opportunity. We're gonna grind it out. We're gonna do our thing. You're gonna break down the film, extra coach on the field. And I didn't want to do it. But you know how it is. We wanna climb the ladders, do the things, right? Like you gotta do what you gotta do, grunt work. And I remember doing it one weekend and being miserable. The team was traveling. They were in Tampa Bay. I was at home watching tape, watching a game, trying to get little tips that I knew my guys weren't gonna use. They were freak athletes. They didn't need that. They did. Now, trust me, I was like, all the breakdowns the coach made, we never use them. Like, we watch the film ourselves. We get it ourselves. I don't want these little cheat codes and tips that don't actually work. Like, we're good, coach, right? And so if coach is out there, I apologize. I think I see one back there. And so I'm sitting there like, what am I doing? What am I doing? But I wanted to, like, do the thing. I wanted to get an extra year. I wanted to kind of, like, rub shoulders and, be the guy who's got all the answers and do all the things. And my counselor, as I started sharing with him, like, hey, like, I don't know what is going on. I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm confused, I'm upset, like I'm anxious, maybe depressed. I don't know what is going on. And he asked me, he said, well, how about you tell your coach? I'm like, huh? How about you tell your coach? Like, you don't understand, like, how we do our things. We stuff that inside and we keep on going. He said, Sam, this may be time to do something different. So the next day, the Monday right after the game, actually it wasn't even Monday. I was scared to say it on Monday. It's probably like Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm not gonna lie to you all up here on stage. I was scared. I think it was actually like Wednesday, maybe Thursday. All right, Friday. It was Friday, y'all. It was the next week. All right, it's like the next week. It was really the next week. I go up to my coach I'm like, hey, coach. And I see him in the hallway. And I'm like, coach, like, I really appreciate you like being with me and like offering me to like stay and hang out and break down the film and come to all the practices as I'm still doing my rehab and come and stay in locker room. But coach, like, I don't know what's going on, but I think I need to be with my family right now. Like he had heard what had happened with my wife. I said, I think my wife needs me. I think my kids need me right now. I'm seeing some of my former teammates in the back. Y'all haven't seen this side of me, guys. I think they need me. I was scared. I was frightened. I wanted to build up I had never done that before. Like, we don't do that, guys. Like, we just keep on going and stepping and grinding and growing and building and leading and achieving. Like, that's what we do. What people don't tell us is that you do all that and you don't take care of yourself, you're gonna end up on somebody's couch somewhere by yourself. No friends, no family. We talked about earlier, no relationships, no community. Y'all heard the stat. And so I'd shared with this coach the truth. I was honest, I was vulnerable, I was real. And he looked at me and he said, Sam, you're good. He said, the only reason I offered that to you is because I thought you wanted to make sure you were good and a part of the team. And like, but if you're good, Sam, I'm good. Like, we're good. That coach and that actually would be one of the first coaches I texted just 2 days ago when our last baby was born. He's now the head coach of the LA Chargers, Brandon Staley. He's a good friend of mine. But he allowed me to be real, right? A relationship, not a resume. Relationship. Even stuff I do now on TV, right? Talking about relationships over resumes. Even now the stuff I do on TV, right? I played 9 years in the NFL and fast forward out, by the grace of God, I'm on ESPN arguing with Stephen A. Smith and some of these guys. All the stuff you see on TV ain't as real as you think. Don't record that, no, I'm playing. And even that opportunity, it wasn't necessarily based on my resume, on the achievement. It was based on a relationship I'd had back at Texas, back in college. Back when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, there was a network that we started called the Longhorn Network. And even before it started, because it started after the year that I graduated, there was a producer who I just became cool with. I didn't want anything from her, didn't even know what she did. But every time I had an opportunity to do something, right, to talk or to speak, whatever, I just wanted to give my best, to do my best, to be my best, and to bring my best. And so fast forward, when I had an opportunity to be on TV, I finally reached out to this lady named Andy, and I'm like, hey, Andy, I don't even know where I would start, but I'm willing to like start at the bottom and just grind. Like initially I wanted to ESPN, Fox, I was like, I'll start at Longhorn Network, I don't even care. I'll start at this network called Stadium before I even did that. It's like they show it at gas stations sometimes. Like that's what I started. Straight up, you go to the gas station, see that's Stadium, right? That it's not even on TV, right? Don't share that with the Stadium people. And I reached out to Andy. She said, hey, how about you come and audition? We're talking a little bit about transition, right? How do you go from one thing to the next a little bit? But she said, how about you come and audition? And I did. I'd never done it before. I was doing the spring game of all things, not even like a real game, the spring game. And I just did it. Grunt work, figure it out. And she said it was excellent. She said, Sam, that was so good. Like I had an agent, right? My agent let me stop. I had an agent. And I was hoping that my agent would kind of share some of this info. My agent hadn't shared it with the higher ups yet. She said, Sam, don't worry about it, I'll do it myself. This lady I'd known from a decade ago put together this reel, sent it to ESPN, and said, hey, if you all don't hire him, I will. Relationships. Based off of something that I had done a decade ago, relationships. Even some of y'all may know I wrote a book called Let the World See You. Some of these stories you're hearing in that book, it's called Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes. That book, by the grace of God, once again, came out about 2 years ago, was in every single Target store. Not because of me or what I did, but because of a relationship, an internship I did in college with this dude named Ramiro. Ramiro happens to be, back then he was just he would hire guys from the business school, and I did a 10-week store executive internship in between summer practices, right? Like that's what I was doing. And fast forward a decade later, Ramiro was now like the manager for all regional targets. He had heard about my book. He said, how about we get that book in all the stores? It's a quick aside, but that's just like relationships. It's like the whole point of it is like we want to achieve, and I get it, and that's kind of how it used to be. But I think there's like a new path that's forming where people want authenticity. People want the real. People want you. They don't want what you put on TV, for me, what you put on social media. They don't want the big, the bad, the macho. They want you, the real, the vulnerable, the honest, the authentic. Like that's what this world is searching for. I mean, achievements are great, right? But they don't want the achievements. Achievements, sure, they get you in the door, but they want you. Like I said at the beginning, like the people I work with on TV, like the best of the best, the brightest, the brilliant, like they're all us. I'm serious, like these are like the smartest guys in the room. What do we have in common? Smartest people in the room, men and women, right? We grind, we fight, right? But we need to learn how to be vulnerable, to be authentic, to build relationships, to be people of integrity. I'm sure some of y'all know this, right? Integrity, the root word is integer. What is an integer? It's a whole number. Learn how to be whole. You know, in my book, right, like Let the World See You, how to be real in a world full of fakes. Like I talk a lot about like why we kind of put on these figurative masks, whether it's in football or in business or in family. Like a lot of us, we love to like wear these masks that we have it all together. And what I say is like pretending, so that's what we do, right? Pretending will get you in certain doors. But being you will open up doors you could never imagine. Be you. Be you. So talked about being authentic, being vulnerable. Talked about relationships over resumes. And the last point before we get into some time for Q&A is getting into the hall. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I got a call from the athletic director from my university. I didn't pick up because I was about to do a show. And he texted me, said, Sam, call me. I said, hey, you know, his name is Chris. Chris, I'm working. He said, Sam, call me. This is important. So I pick up the phone. He tells me after a few minutes, he said, hey, you're getting inducted into the University of Texas Hall of Honor or Hall of Fame. And I was like, you're kidding, right? Because I was like an academic guy, like football, sure, but like my thing was, you know, it's academic. I wanted, you know what I mean? Like he's like, no, the football, like the actual like Hall of Honor, Hall of Fame. You're going in with Kevin Durant. I was like, let's go, KD. It's validated. And I like, the whole point of that is like, I didn't plan it, it wasn't like a goal or anything like that, but it was a huge honor. Well, fast forward to, was it 2 days ago, I'm watching the Hall of Fame game. Anybody watch that? Yeah. Who watched the whole thing? It was kind of a boring game. Y'all didn't watch the whole thing. No hands went up. But as I'm watching the game, I was watching some of the interviews of some of these heroic football players who had gotten inducted into the Hall of Fame, gold jackets. And there's a man by the name of Tony Baselli, second overall pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, first Jaguar, some of y'all nodding your head, first Jaguar to get into the Hall of Fame. And I was listening to his interview, Hall of Famer. And as he's sharing his story, his dad had passed away about a year ago. And one thing that he said stood out to me, and I'll leave y'all with this before we go to our questions. He said, getting into the hall was great. But there was nothing like, because his dad had made this video for him. His dad I believe he had cancer and he wasn't gonna make it. So he made a video about a year prior before he passed, saying how proud he was of his son. And when he had watched that video, Tony, he couldn't watch the whole thing initially the year before, and so he just didn't watch it. But the day of the game, he watched the whole thing. Father telling his son he was proud. And he said, this guy, this Hall of Famer, gold jacket. He said, getting in the Hall of Fame is nice, but nothing compares to a son hearing his father say he's proud of him. Hall of Fame is cool, right? Hall of Honor, sure, right? Kevin Durant, we love him. But nothing compares to hearing those words, I'm proud of you. It got me thinking a little bit, because not all of us are going to be able to go get into the NFL's Hall of Fame or any of our whatever Hall of Fames, but there is a hall that we can get into, whether we're dads, or husbands, or friends, right? Like, as I was watching that game in the hospital with my baby in my arm, I realized that, like, man, I have an opportunity for my kids. Tell them I'm proud of them, to be there for them, to address my insecurities. Because I realized I hadn't really told my son I'm proud of him a lot. Didn't really necessarily hear that all the time from my dad. My dad came, as I mentioned, from Nigeria, right? Fought in wars, like a lot of stuff, like great man, like he's a doctor and leads medical mission trips and psychologist, marriage counselor, but like everybody got issues. Hadn't heard it a lot. And I realized the reason I hadn't heard it a lot or even hadn't said it a lot is because I hadn't dealt with my own issues. I was too worried about me and being this big, bad dude. I wasn't loving myself. I wasn't being kind to myself. And so I realized, like, sure, Hall of Fames and Hall of Honors and achievements and awards are all great, but what really matters, what I can control, is being there for my wife, for my kids, being their Hall of Honor. One of my best friends is a coach, a basketball coach. He mentioned to me as I was on the plane over here as I just landed, he was like, hey man, like, talk, do your thing, but like, go be there for your wife. Spend time with your kids. Like, I don't care how much you achieve, Hall of Fame. Like when you got into the Hall of Honor, I didn't change my name. I didn't change your name on my phone to Sam Acho Hall of Fame. Like that's just you. Like that's who you've always been, whether you got the achievement or the acknowledgement or not, that's who you've always been. And the message is the same for you. Whether you ever get that affirmation, some of us have gotten it from our dads. Some of us haven't. Let me be the one to tell you, I'm proud of you. Like, I see you. The reason I can say that is we are cut from the same cloth. Like the reason I won this award, this dude in the room, Dallas Griffin. I didn't even know about the Campbell Trophy. It was called the Dratty Trophy when he won it. I was a freshman in college, and this senior in college I looked up to in college, won this award in college. I said, I want that in college. Fast forward 12, 14, 15 years later, we're in the same room. Who are you looking up to? Who are you leading? Who's looking up to you? Who's following you? Who are you letting pour into your life, right? Like, I'm proud of you. We are all proud of you. You are worth it. You are worth it. I understand achievement. I understand goals. I understand trying to take off and take over. Before you can do anything, like even like people who like biblical scholars, right? Like before Jesus did his first miracle, right? The Bible says there's a voice from heaven. This is my son. I'm pleased with him. So I want to let y'all know, like, I'm proud of you. I'm with you. I'm for you. I'm pleased with you. If you need anything, like, hit me up. My email, I'll pass it to Bill or send it over, or pass it to, Mark and send it over to you. Like community, family, relationships, vulnerability. There's Hall of Fames that we can get into that matters so much more than a gold jacket or Kevin Durant. So with that, I'll close. I'd love to open it up for a little bit of questions. So thank you. Mark, do we have time for a couple questions? Awesome. Yeah. Not all at once. I'm kidding. Yeah.
So you're a busy man. You used to talk about being in the hall and taking care of your family. So how do you prioritize the engagements like being here with your job as well as the family, which is the most important?
Yeah, I think part of it is passion, right? Like, what up, DT? Like, I love speaking. And my wife knows that. Like, this is like a passion of mine. I feel like it's a gift. And so, like, even opportunities like this, she was like, go do it. Like, live in your purpose, live in your passion. Like, a lot of us, like, football is great. And for some of us, it's our passion. For some of us, it's our passion. But other of us are meant to be CEOs, presidents, business leaders, coaches. So, like, find that passion and follow it, chase it with everything you have. Like, so that's like, as far as like priority, like I love being on TV. A mentor of mine, a friend of mine, he says, get on that TV, whatever it takes, get on TV. I don't like doing radio. I like being on TV for whatever reason. So like for me, it's those passions, following those, but also the priorities of like even talking with my wife and saying, hey, how are we feeling about this? Like during the season, I was gone 5 days a week. Didn't plan that, wasn't hoping for, but that's kind of how it worked out. But during the off season, she's like, you can be home. They can Zoom, right? It's COVID. So I think like during the season, I was gone 5 days a week. Off season, I think I went to Bristol or New York once from like January all the way till now. So there's ways to follow your passions, but also to find balance. Great question. What else? He asked, how do you find balance if I didn't share that? Do we have any other questions? Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
So I see that you and your brother have achieved a lot. I just want to know, like, from y'all's vantage point, how y'all support each other, speaking to each other, be speaking to that.
Yeah. So the question was, Sam, you and your brother have achieved a lot. Right? My brother's Emmanuel Acho. I don't know if you heard Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man, or if y'all watched The Bachelor. He's hosted it before. He has a show on Fox. Y'all love The Bachelor. I see a lot of head shakes with The Bachelor. Ladies, don't let these guys fool you. Like they're not playing video games. They're watching The Bachelor. Don't let them fool you. And Becca and all them, they love. You know what I'm saying. How do we support each other? Yeah. It's hard. If I could be real with you, because society, I think, wants to like pit us against each other. Not even us, but even just like, oh, well, you're achieving and he's achieving and he's more, you're more, like, and so like, honestly, like my wife helps a lot in that. Even as I was flying up here, she's like, hey, hit up, my brother lives in LA. She's like, hit up your brother, see if he'll come out and hang out with you for these hours. So I texted him, hey man, come through, come kick it. He said, hey man, I'm unavailable today, but I'll come and visit you. And he said, I love you, I love your son, I'm gonna come and visit y'all in 2 weeks. I asked for days off, I'll be there in 2 weeks. Right, and so like I think something like having some support system who's like, hey, like go text your brother. I think that's one piece, like my wife reminds me, but also this piece of realizing like, even if you're at the top, you may not have it all together. I think a lot of us understand that at a deep level. Like in a lot of ways, this dude's got close to 1 million followers and, Lil Wayne, all these people are like showing up to his house for stuff. Like he's, killing it. But there's some stuff that I know about that he needs help with that only I can really speak to. So what I would say is like, don't be afraid to step into those spaces and to speak life and to speak truth into those people who are in your, not even on your team, but in your circle. I felt like I failed one time. He did something a couple months ago, and I had a chance to like really say something that I said, man, maybe do this or do that, and I didn't do it. Oh, he's got it figured out. And he didn't, got a ton of backlash. Because I didn't step in and be who I was supposed to be as a brother, as a man, as a friend. So what I would say is like, don't be afraid to step up and to speak up, right? And to love people well. Love is more than just about, oh, it's okay. And it's kind of like, sometimes love is confrontational. As football players, a lot of us know this. Love confronts, right? Love overlooks an offense, but love confronts. So I would say, like, we got to step into those spaces because our people need us and we need each other. Mark, we have time for one more. We got to go. Awesome. Man, thank you all so much. Yeah.